I'm Trevor Turner. Once lost, now living on purpose. I know what it's like to feel locked out of your own potential. This show is for the ones who are ready to take their power back and write a new story 1 hour at a time. You can do it. You can do anything, and you don't need permission. That's why I started the free hour, to give people the space to change their story, to remind them you are not your past, you are not your mistakes, you are not done, you are powerful. You can find freedom, you can find yourself, and you decide what happens next. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the free hour. It's your boy Trevor Turner. We're back with another video. We're back with another episode in our Transformative Habits series. This is Transformative Habits, where we break down the daily choices that help us to build a life that we don't need to escape from anymore. This is the ones where we build a life where we don't feel like we're locked into something that isn't of our doing. This is where we take back our power. And today, we are going to be talking about trusting ourself, about rebuilding the relationship with ourself. What happens when you stop trusting yourself? We know what happens to relationships when the trust erodes with a partner, when the trust erodes with a friend, when the trust erodes with a colleague, an associate, whatever the case. But what is the consequence of not being able to trust yourself? When I talk about not trusting yourself, it's about broken promises. It's about not being immaculate with your word, like the 4 agreements say to do, because it's about not having integrity. It's about not doing the things that you tell yourself you're going to do. You know, I told myself by this month I was going to lose this many pounds. I told myself I was going to try to learn this language. I told myself that I was going to try to mend this relationship with that person. I told myself that I was going to go after this job or go after this move to this city. I told myself that this is what I was going to do. I was going to look into doing this. I was going to look into doing that. I was going to get up and do this. I was going to change my life. I was going to go to the gym, right? What happens after every time that we make a decision and we fail to follow through? Or we tell ourselves that we're going to do something and we fail to follow through, and how it erodes the confidence that we have in ourselves. And this is especially true for anybody who's in recovery, for anybody who's had problems with alcohol in the past, for anybody who's had problems with drugs in the past, all those times where you said, you know what, I never want to do this again. All these times where you did something that you know was hurting yourself, where you reached back out to that ex, where you picked up that bottle, where you picked up that drug, and you said, you know what, this is the last time. And it wasn't the last time. Self-trust isn't confidence, it's evidence. So let's talk about how self-trust breaks real quick. We all know how it does. We overpromise, we underdeliver, we constantly restart. Identity Drift by James Clear talks about every broken promise weakens identity, but every kept promise rebuilds it. Confidence grows from consistency. We know all the times that we've told ourselves this is what we're going to do. You know what? I'm going to write that book. You know what? I'm going to start going to the gym. And the only thing that ended up happening is we bought a whole bunch of pens and paper. They're still sitting there. The ink dried up before we even got to use it. We got that gym membership and we jumped through all of the hoops of canceling it instead of actually stepping foot in there. We told ourselves we were going to start creating. We told ourselves that we were going to talk to that person, or we were going to be more friendly, or we were going to work harder at doing the things at work, the tasks that we had to do. And all of those things fell by the wayside. But confidence grows from consistency. You don't rebuild self-trust with motivation. You rebuild it with follow-through. So let's talk about some ways that we rebuild it. Start small. One of the things with me is I said that, look, I'm going to make my bed every morning. I'm going to start with gratitude every morning. I'm going to start with 15 to 20 minutes of doing this every morning, right? I'm going to read a page. I'm going to write a page. I'm going to, instead of trying to do 100 or 500 burpees, I'm going to do 10 to 15 minutes of them, right? I'm just going to do this much. And it helped me to keep visible promises. When I said that, hey, I'm just going to write one page, I felt like I could do more. But it was a visible promise to myself kept. When I saw that page filled out every single day, it started to build my confidence back in myself. When I see my bed made every single day, it builds the confidence back in myself. When I see that the bookmark is steadily moving through the book, even though I know I can read more, I know I read faster than that, but I know that I'm keeping the visible promises to myself to the point where I'm doing enough that I don't have to skip a day. And then track completion, not perfection. It's about being consistent, not about being perfect. Every time you go into the gym, you don't need to hit a PR. Every time you go into the gym, you don't need to lift heavier than you did the day before. Like, yes, obviously you want to consistently increase your weight. You want to consistently increase your volume. You want to consistently increase. But if you're not able to hit a PR in that day, at least be good with the fact that you made it. Be good with the fact that you did the workout when you didn't feel like it. Be good with the fact that you kept your promise to yourself. That is the core of how we get back to things like self-trust and self-confidence. And then the third thing that we need to do is we need to forgive ourselves. A lot is talked about forgiving other people. A lot is talked about how we hold on all of these different things that other people have done to us, and about how forgiving those other people is going to set us free from how we feel about those things. It's like drinking poison expecting the other person to die. One of the things that they liken not forgiving to is how they catch baboons in the wild. They'll bury something that, a baboon can reach into the hole and grab. They'll bury it in there, make a hole so the baboon can reach in there and grab it, but it's too big to come out of the hole. And the thing is, the baboon won't let go of it, no matter what. As soon as they have it in their grasp, they won't let go of it. So the hunter will just come and he'll be walking up the whole time. The baboon will see him coming. It'll be shrieking. It'll be doing all it's trying to do, trying desperately to get this thing out until the hunter comes up, knocks it over the head. That's how they got the baboon. What you're holding on to, what you're refusing to let go of, can kill you, right? But we always talk about this in the frame of reference or when we talk about other people. But how much do we forgive ourselves? How much have you done to yourself that you need to forgive yourself for? How much are you still holding yourself accountable for things that you've done in the past? For promises that you've broken to yourself in the past, in the time that you can no longer change. All you have focused on is now. We're so quick to give other people second chances, but we won't give ourselves second chances. It's something that I talked about in the kindness video, and I talked about kindness to ourselves. When we think about the way that we talk to other people, we put everything through all the filters, right? Even people who've wronged us. Even people who've done us dirty, because forgiveness is such something that we emphasize it so much. We focus on it so much, forgiveness for other people, but we won't do that same thing for ourselves. We'll tell ourselves, remember that dumbass shit that you did when you was in middle school? I'm still going to hold you accountable for it today. I'm still going to hold you as that same person that you were back then so that I can keep you from doing it again. Remember that dumb stuff that you did, that you embarrassed yourself in high school? Remember that stuff that you did when you wronged these people that we loved? Remember those things that you did when you fucked up? And we hold ourselves accountable for those things every single day, with every single decision that we make, with every single time we look at ourselves and we determine our self-worth, because we do self-checks all the time. Subconsciously, we do self-checks all the time. When opportunities come, we weigh, am I a good enough person for this? Am I the person that deserves this? Am I capable? Am I competent? And that thing that we haven't forgiven ourselves from years ago is just lurking right there. It's lurking right there, trying to tell us that we're not good enough. is lurking right there, trying to tell us that we're not the right person for this, that we're not qualified for this, that we're that person that was, and we still try to tell ourselves that we are still that person that made those mistakes way back. Forgive yourself. One of the things that I tell my guys now, right? A lot of us, we have problems with jealousy issues because of projection, because of the things that we used to do. You know, a lot of us have grown, we've changed into different people. But the thing is that we used to be guilty of everything that we accuse our partners of, right? And the reason that we still carry those things and that guilty conscience and that projection through into new relationships is because we haven't forgiven ourselves for the type of person we used to be. We haven't forgiven ourselves fully to where we can move on and be this new person fully. You know, now I'm not the type of person that does those things anymore, but the type of person I was before, definitely. And I've never forgiven myself for the hurt, for the pain, for the suffering that I've caused other people. So I still project those things onto everybody I meet. It's still hard for me to trust. It's still hard for me to open up and be vulnerable. And that's my own projections, right? Because I wasn't able to forgive myself. You know, it's not something that I just, I talk to people about this using me as the example, right? It's not just other people who got problems with this stuff. It's me. If you want to rebuild the trust with yourself, if you want to rebuild that self-trust and you want to rebuild the relationship with yourself, you need to forgive yourself. And this is why it's so much more difficult than just forgiving other people. Because with other people, you can forgive and move on. You never have to reconcile with that person again. You never have to talk to that person again. You just have to let go of what they did to you and move on with your life. With you, with yourself, you have to not only forgive and forget about what you did, but you have to move on. Knowing that you could probably do the same thing again. Knowing that you could probably put yourself in that same situation again. Knowing that you could be your own worst enemy again. And you have to live with yourself. You don't have any choice. You have to live with the things that you've done. You have to live with every time that you overpromised and underdelivered. You have to live with every sabotage relationship. You have to live with every time you fumbled. You have to live with that. You have to forgive yourself for it, and you have to move on, and you have to live with the fact that you are the person that did those things. And that's why it gets so much harder. But that is a core component of forgiving yourself and rebuilding the relationship with yourself. So for the next 7 days, keep one small promise to yourself. For the next 7 days, forgive yourself for one thing that you didn't follow through on before. Trust is built the same way as broken, one action at a time. All right? So that's been your boy Trevor Turner, Transformative Habits, where we focus on our daily choices to build a life that we don't need to escape from. All right? And that's been rebuilding the relationship with yourself. Like, share, comment, subscribe. Tell me about how you're trying to forgive yourself today. Tell me about the promises you're trying to keep yourself today. And, let's get it together. Let's change together. All right? Deuces.